President Trump cruises to victory with a record-breaking Republican turnout.
Trump got more total votes than Obama got as an incumbent.
Republican turnout operation in Texas is extraordinary.
Complete domination.
Receiving more primary votes than any sitting president.
We're winning. We're winning all over.
We had record turnout for an incumbent president.
The Republican Party has never been unified like it is now.
Turnout was also huge for Donald Trump.
President Trump celebrating a record-breaking victory.
It's not even a party, it's a movement.
More than President Obama had by a wide margin.
Let's realize how good Donald Trump's political operation is.
To all Americans tonight, I'm with you, the American people. I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. And we are going to keep America great.
Welcome to the Veterans for Trump online battle brief. I'm Mark Lauder, Director of Strategic Communications for the president's reelection campaign. Tonight, we're going to discuss President Trump's unparalleled support for our men and women who've worn the uniform of our country, his historic efforts to rebuild our VA and support those who've served, rebuild the military, and his fighting spirit as he combats the invisible threat of the coronavirus. First, let's welcome our guests. We're joined by Jessie Jane Duff, retired gunnery sergeant from the United States Marines and the co-chair for the Veterans for Trump Coalition. Graham Allen, Army veteran, internet personality, founder of Dear America, and a member of the Veterans for Trump Advisory Board. And Keith and Kevin Hodge, Marine Corps veterans, fitness phenoms, social media stars, and members of the Veterans for Trump Advisory Board. Thanks for joining us tonight. You all answered the call to serve our country in uniform, and now you're finding ways to continue that service through your support of President Trump. We all know that veterans play an important part in society, and often you find yourselves leaders in our community. In 2016, the president received unprecedented support from veterans community, with millions of veterans voting for him in 2016. In fact, he had a 2-for-1 margin over Hillary Clinton in that election. 30 Medal of Honor recipients have already endorsed President Trump for re-election in 2020. That's more than in 2016, and it's more of any incumbent president in history. We know that the military and our veterans are called to serve. Jessie, I want to start with you. Give me a little bit about your military background and why you're serving the president to this day.
Hi, it's exciting to be here, first of all. I served 20 years on active duty. I retired a gunnery sergeant, as you had said. I was a tractor-trailer operator. I hauled for the infantry and wing unit, so I had a really in-depth approach to how the military operates in our ground operations and combatant forces. What happened under the Obama administration single-handedly convinced me that Democrats don't care about the military. When we saw that sequestration had basically robbed our military of all of its resources, we were unable to keep our ships and aircraft in the air, ships on the ocean. We were really suffering with our military readiness, and it seemed as if it was becoming a political punching bag. And President Trump said no more. He essentially came in and ensured that the military was ramped back up. He ensured that we had the proper funding. Military members were actually even given a pay raise that they had not seen of that magnitude. It was well over 3%, as I recall, that they had not seen in probably almost a decade. I mean, this was really difficult. All of us who had served on active duty knew that that paycheck sometimes meant the difference between us eating a fast food dinner or being able to, or having to go to the chow hall on base, because you were pinching pennies all the way down to the very end of the next payday. And it always seemed like your rent went up when the pay increases happened. So military really was suffering on a lot of levels, whether it be with the readiness or with being able to have the ability to financially sustain themselves. And we weren't showing the gratitude to those veterans that we now have off of active duty. We saw a huge suicide rate. We saw things ticking up, and veteran unemployment was ridiculous. Under this president, we've been able to see a 37% drop in unemployment for active duty members. Now, granted, with the coronavirus, a lot of that has been wiped off the slate tragically, but we will get it back. He's put his reputation and his name and promises kept for the veterans and the military.
Keith and Kevin, why don't you share us a little bit about your background and why you support the president?
Well, we was in the military for 4 years, Marine Corps. We was kind of reluctant at first to come out to support our president because we had been on social media for so long. We built up this huge brand, not because we didn't believe in him. We had been conservative for years. Yeah, his message resonated with us. We just didn't want to come out and support him and alienate half our fan base. But ultimately, the president's message resonates with us. So we got tired of what the mainstream media was pushing and what celebrities were saying. They was using their platform to spread misinformation. We said, hey, let's use our platform to do something good. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Hey, Graham, how about you?
Yeah, for me, I was in the Army for 12 years. I actually went to Iraq under two different presidents, President Bush first time, President Obama the second time. For me, I guess you could say I kind of owe President Trump the career that I have now and the employees that we have at this business, because it was when right around President Trump won the election that all this stuff started with Dear America Here. So I owe the president a huge debt in that regard. I will say I got out 1 month after President Trump won the election, not because he won. That's just when my contract ended. And I will say that immediately, even before he had his inauguration in January, immediately you felt it across the military ranks that this president was going to be different and that this president actually cared about our men and women in uniform, didn't just say it because that's what's expected for the president to say. I never got that huge pay raise that our troops have thankfully gotten now that they deserve. And I remember having to take out a credit card to buy diapers for my kids. And I had been in the military for 6 years at this point. And so it's not about the money, but it is nice to know that we have a commander in chief that actually cares about our men and women.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for all of your service. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about President Trump's record of supporting our military and our veterans. We'll be right back.
Ready to go?
This is a crisis.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia.
Biden's son inked $1 billion deal with a subsidiary of the Bank of China.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They're not bad folks.
Since the outbreak, the Communist Party has been mobilizing overseas organizations to buy local supplies and send them to China.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper. What a beautiful history we wrote together. Banning all travel will not stop it.
Travel ban that he slapped on China, every doctor now acknowledges was the right move.
That was a very smart move right there.
Hysterical xenophobia. Dear mine. Xenophobia. I complimented him on dealing with China. I'm not going nuts.
Welcome back to the Veterans for Trump online battle brief. President Trump has truly done more for veterans and military families than any president in history. In this segment, we're talking about President Trump's track record of support for our nation's heroes, including the VA Mission Act, which gives veterans greater access to health care in VA facilities and the community. It expands benefits for caregivers and improves the VA's ability to recruit and retain the best medical providers. The GI Forever bill, which allows military veterans to pursue educational opportunities for life. The largest VA budget ever, which will assist the VA in continued commitment to provide veterans high-quality health care and access to timely services. And the National Defense Authorization Act, the largest in history, was signed by President Trump, which will ensure our warfighters have the tools, resources, and equipment they need to fight and win. Keith and Kevin, give us a little bit about what you think the president is doing for our veterans in the military.
Well, before this pandemic was an issue, unemployment among veterans were at record lows. And not only that, while the Democrats out here pushing free health care for illegals, free college, and all this other free stuff for the leeches of society, the president eliminated 100% of the student loan debt for disabled veterans. Now, these papers, they deserve it. They earn that financial help. And I just do not like how the left panders to disadvantaged groups to earn votes when they should be taking care of the American citizens and especially our veterans. I mean, our military is our front line. They should be the I mean, if I had any say so, they should be the highest paid. We should take care of our veterans, not push them to the side and just forget about them. They're our heroes.
No, you're absolutely right. And Graham, can you tell me how have President Trump's policies directly impacted your life?
Well, I'll say that I was one of the lucky ones, at least so far, knock on wood. I'm a pretty healthy guy. However, I have had very many close friends that were in the service that deal with the VA every day. And unfortunately, I had a good friend that lost his life. And it could be, cause and effect of how the VA system was run for very many years. I think it's very easy for us to remember to put a priority on our military service men and women when they're in uniform. I think it's another thing when they take that uniform off. And I think what our president is doing is he is ensuring that we have systems in place. If the systems are broken, he's fixing it to take care of our veterans when they actually need us the most. And most of the time, that's when the uniform comes off.
Yeah, Jesse, how about you?
Well, one of the biggest things that I was chasing after was the failures of the Veterans Administration prior to President Trump coming on board. I worked with an organization and we were vigorously drawing out all of the injustices that they had committed against veterans, and we could never get Congress to fire or demote or suspend any of those VA employees. We had over 40 veterans die waiting for healthcare in Phoenix, Arizona under the Obama administration, which caused Secretary Shinseki to have to resign. But it didn't solve the problem. They were basically giving bonuses to many of those directors for keeping veterans on wait lists less than 30 days. So what did they do? They were gaming the system throughout the United States and making what fake wait lists, which was in allowing them to give the impression of veterans only waiting 30 days, when in fact they had been waiting much longer, maybe 90 or 120 days. We'll never know the exact total of the number of veterans that died under the VA's care when they were essentially gaming the system. So the veterans under President Trump have definitely been seen greater successes. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, the numbers were well over 7,000, or was it over 4,000? VA employees were either demoted, suspended, or taken off the job for their inadequate care of those veterans. And I agree that these veterans who have been permanently disabled, these are the ones that sacrificed the most in combat, had their federal loans resolved for them so that they did not have to be in debt to the federal government. But then also the GI Bill forever means veterans like myself, if you've been off of active duty, you could only use that for 10 years. The next thing you know, you're pushing 50, 60 years old and you hadn't finished using your GI Bill and it was gone. These are no-brainers. There's 22 million. There's a huge population of veterans that we have right now. I believe it's 32 or 22.5 million veterans. We have millions of veterans. Less than 1% of this country serves on active duty. And for them to come off of active duty and not see their GI Bill, not be treated fairly by the VA, is not the type of country we want to be. How do you tell your youth to serve this country and volunteer and step up like all of us have done at some point when you know that you can't even get the care you have earned coming off of active duty?
No, you're absolutely right. We owe the greatest debt to those who've worn the uniform of our country. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about our commander-in-chief and how he is using this wartime footing to fight the coronavirus.
In times of struggle, we see the true greatness of the American character. Americans from all walks of life are rallying together to defeat the unseen enemy.
The president is talking about hope for people.
The president's been working nonstop.
The president has demonstrated excellent, bold leadership.
He said everything that I could have hoped for.
He is being the kind of leader that people need.
I can tell you the actions he has taken, his team has been on it.
He did what a president's supposed to do.
There's spirit in our country like never before.
They're doing things that have never been done before. This is record time for the development of a vaccine.
The one that really deserves the credit are the American people.
We're going to get through this and come out stronger than ever before.
Our message is to all Americans, we love them, we're with them, and we will not let them down.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Veterans for Trump online battle brief. I'm Mark Lauder. Let's now shift focus to the battle against the coronavirus. And the military is playing a very important role in that. Not only are they constructing remote hospitals in areas that have been impacted by the coronavirus. But we've already saw that the president has assigned the 2 U.S. Navy hospital ships to New York and Los Angeles. We have military medical personnel who are not only manning those ships, but they are also going out into the community and providing relief services to take some of the need off of the local doctors and nurses in our area hospitals. Graham, the Obama-Biden administration left our military underfunded. And when we look at how the president has not only rebuilt our military, but is now using them as we combat this national pandemic, I mean, what does that say about the president's leadership to you?
Well, it shows me not just a president, but a man that understands what it actually takes to run a country successfully and defend a country successfully. And, the military is there for that very reason. They are there to defend America, period, foreign and domestic, whether it's an actual physical enemy that you can see or an invisible enemy, as the president likes to say. Thank God for our men and women that are still wearing the uniform today, our active duty service members. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you to our National Guard and Reserve military as well. Those guys and girls don't get enough credit when they're the ones that are deploying out into their individual states, because we are the United States of America, and each state is different in how they're having to deal with this pandemic in certain ways. And I just think it's a testament to the fact that our president is putting the money, the personnel, and the right leaders in place to keep our military strong. And no one wants to talk about what if of worst case scenarios. But if there was ever a worst case scenario, we're looking at it right this second. And thank God President Trump had the foresight to strengthen our military before something like this happened.
Yeah, Jesse, what are your thoughts on that?
This is a great opportunity for the military to demonstrate that it's not just for the defense of this nation. It's here to support and assist the nation. I agree. The National Guard has been out there trying to assist the local communities to ensure that they are receiving the assistance and support that they need to essentially oblige by this. But also, when you have the ships, the Mercy and Hope, outside of these very blue areas that have claimed that the president wouldn't necessarily be supportive of them. And you have the governors now coming out, Gavin Newsom out in California, and you have Bill de Blasio in New York, recognizing that the president has been extremely responsive to every request that they have made. But this demonstrates the fortitude of our American military. We are ready, we are willing, and always capable of supporting our nation wherever that may call, wherever that duty may be. We've been notoriously known for going overseas to assist, and the president knew that this was a valuable resource of medical professionals and professionals themselves who can assist these states get through this hurdle. And I show it's a great testament of our patriotism and the president recognizing how skilled and qualified we are. And so it's wonderful to know that our military is able to make an impact, as it always has been able to, and this president appreciates what our service offers.
No, you're exactly right. And Keith and Kevin, one of the things that I think obviously helps our great military is having a strong commander in chief like we have in President Trump. As we approach the 2020 election and we compare and contrast the leadership of President Trump versus what we have with Joe Biden on the other side, I mean, what do you think that means to our military?
That means a lot. I mean, from the moment this pandemic took over headline news, President Trump made the unprecedented decision to, ban travel to certain areas of this of the world. And when he made that decision, Joe Biden came out and he was playing politics the whole time, and he called our president xenophobic. Now, our president, when he made that decision, that must have been a very hard decision to make, because no other president has never did that. So when President put his foot down and said, I'm going to ban travel to certain countries, he put America first, and he did it to save lives, not to be xenophobic or racist. He doesn't even care about what mainstream media thinks of him. He said, I'm going to do what's going to save America, save American lives.
Yeah, President Trump's a true leader. Joe Biden has absolutely no backbone. This guy's a career politician. He's been a politician for decades. And look what he stands for and what he's running on. Socialism and open borders. That's something this man has never stood for in his entire life in politics. When it comes down to it, the squad runs Biden, it runs the entire party. He has no leadership, no backbone whatsoever.
Yeah, Trump has made some very tough decisions that either the left
right doesn't like. But he does it because he thinks it's the best thing to do, not because it's the politically right thing to do for the left or the right, but he does things that he feels that it's the right thing to do, regardless of politics. Yeah.
Jesse, do you think that message is getting out there enough? And can you help us close here by saying, what can veterans do to be involved in helping to reelect President Trump?
We have to ensure that every veteran out there that supports this president gets involved. We need you to text FIGHT to 88022. Make sure that you send in this, because this will ensure that everybody in your state, your regional directors for the campaign, will know that you're out there. We can then afford the opportunity to have veteran meetups for the support of this president. So make sure you get involved. Sign up on the website, which is veterans.donaldjtrump.com, veterans.donaldjtrump.com. We need to do these things. Sign up, get your name out there, because then we can call upon you when we want to have these veteran rallies with the president, when we want to show our support. And it's important that every veteran makes their voice heard, because you know how it was just a mere 4 years ago with our Veterans Administration, our active duty military, one of the lowest groups that's able to participate in the elections because their ballots are often forgotten, getting sent out on time overseas. Make sure you get your absentee ballot signed up for. I mean, these lefties will want to have mail-in ballots for everybody so they can fraudulently support the election through mail, but they don't support the military. And the military is the only people outside of those who are sick and elderly that really have a legitimate reason not to be able to make it to the polls. This is our right that we fought and died for with this country. So we need to ensure that we're out there supporting this president, getting actively involved, because you know that our country, the America that you signed up for to protect and defend, is better with this president than it would ever be under Joe Biden and that old Obama regime that did nothing but put us in a precarious position for our military and our national security.
No, you're absolutely right, Jesse. And thank you, Jesse, Graham, Keith, Kevin, for being with us. And thank you for your service to our country. Obviously, the veteran support for our president is going to be critical this November. Every single vote is going to count. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for this Veterans for Trump online battle brief. And don't forget, tomorrow night, Don Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle will be here to take a Q&A at 8 o'clock, so sign up and register for that. On behalf of the president's campaign for the Veterans for Trump Coalition, thank you for your support. Thanks for watching tonight, and we're counting on you to help us win in November.
America is being threatened by an invisible but deadly enemy. President Trump is leading an unprecedented response to this threat, making the tough call early by banning travel from China and coronavirus epicenters, declaring a national emergency, mobilizing scientists, doctors, and nurses to treat patients and find a cure, testing more people than any other country, investing billions of dollars to help develop a vaccine. And President Trump is putting American workers and families first by increasing unemployment insurance, providing paid sick leave, fighting for direct checks to families, and helping small businesses survive. Together, we will defeat this pandemic and emerge safer, stronger, and healthier than ever. Because we are America, the greatest country on earth.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.